Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dear students, Assalamu alaikum. Today we have a second lecture of biology, second year, about the homeostasis mechanism and the function of the control system. As we have studied that homeostasis is to maintain balance in the body. It maintains the body in an equilibrium condition. If there is any fluctuation take place in the external environment, internal environment maintain its body structure and function or metabolism with a minor change. Consider there are two types of the environment. One is the external environment, other is the internal environment. Some other factors of the external environment, let's consider it is a temperature or the water. Similarly, in the internal environment also have some components, that's the body temperature, salts and water concentration, metabolic waste, blood pH and other hormones. If there is any fluctuation take place in the external environment, that control system maintain a balance in the internal environment. A minor fluctuation or minor change take place in the internal environment while a great changes take place in the external environment. These fluctuations show that it is a continuous process. Usually the external environment fluctuate continuously, but the internal environment maintain the homeostasis by a specific narrow range. A minor change takes place in the internal environment. Similarly, the external environment fluctuate up to the highest level. For example, let's consider the example of temperature. In the hot season, temperature may increase up to 40 degree, 50 degree centigrade, but the internal environment of the human body maintain the temperature with a narrow range. For example, human body temperature is 37 degree centigrade. It maintains the temperature within a narrow range 38 degrees centigrade. It can control the body functions. Similarly, different metabolic waste are present inside the body, hormones are present, enzymes are present. The internal environment also maintains the body in a homeostatic condition, and these shows that the external environment can be fluctuate, but the internal environment maintain the body in a homeostatic condition. Consider an example or diagram. Here a system shows that there is an external environment which shows a fluctuation in a wider range. That is the environment which is present outside the cell, known as the extracellular environment. Similarly, there is a control system is present that show a narrow range of fluctuation in the temperature or in the cell. Due to this, cell will maintain its body metabolism, body temperature. Cell will maintain the osmoregulation, salt or water concentration. In the external environment, fluctuation can be increased up to wider range, but the internal environment show a narrow fluctuation. We can observe the same condition in another case of intracellular environment. In this condition, the cell present inside the body, it also show a minor fluctuation, extremely narrow fluctuation, that is underline I have here, you can see that there is an intracellular environment is present, and if there is any change take place inside the cell, a minor fluctuation take place. There is small control system is also present that also control the activity of the cell. This diagram represent that these will maintain the body in an homeostatic condition. Either the organism present in an hypertonic environment where salt concentration is more, where either it is present in the hypotonic environment where salt concentration is less, or there is a case of thermoregulation. These organisms maintain, or the cell will also maintain the homeostatic condition by a control system. The control system has mainly consist of three main components. One is the receptors, other is the control center, and third one is the effectors. Receptors. It detects changes from the set point or the reference point. These receptors are usually called as sensors. They receive information from the external environment and send the signals to the control center. The control centers where the signal receives from the receptors that will uh, control the cell or control the body and shows that there is a deviation take place from the reference point, or there is a fluctuation take place in the external environment, so it sends the signal to the effectors. These messages will receive to the effectors. That effectors, they may be a gland or they may be a muscles that show the a proper response which is suitable. From the external environment, the receptor receives the stimulus known as the input. The receptors or detectors, when they receive a stimulus and they send the messages to the control center where the system will be coordinated, or regulators are present that will check the changes take place in the external environment. From here it the decide and send the message to the effectors. Effectors are the muscles and the glands. These muscles and glands show the response according to the requirement. So in this case, if there is any harmful fluctuation take place outside the environment, outside the cell, then the internal environment or internal cell structure by the control system maintain the body in an homeostatic condition. Control system consists of two types. One is the physical control system, other is the living control system. Let's consider the example of temperature control system. In a human body, the control system is also consists of three components. Similarly, in a physical control system consists of three components. One is the sensor, control center, and switching on and off is present in a physical control system. In a living control system, receptors are present, control centers are present, and effectors are present. So they will carry on the function when they receive any signals, any information from the outside. That signals, that information sent to the control center. That control center will check either these changes are harmful or not, so that according to that procedure they maintain the internal system and send the messages to the effectors where they show a proper response. Let's consider the example of a fridge and an iron, or an oven. Similarly, they also maintain a specific range in which they perform a specific function. They have special structure known as the regulator that will maintain the homeostatic condition. If the sensor will receive any information and send to the control center, that control center, if the value is exceeding from the adjustment point, so it will be switch off. These things represent that the body will also maintain the homeostatic condition. If any fluctuation, harmful fluctuation take place outside the body, that will be received by the sensors or receptor and sent to the control center where it perform a specific function and send the messages for response. There is a feedback mechanism, the detection of change by the receptors and sending signals by the control system to the effectors for response is a feedback mechanism. We have receptors. That receptors receive some signals and send to the control system that perform a specific information and send to the effectors where they show response. This is known as the feedback mechanism. Feedback mechanisms is of two types: negative feedback mechanism or positive feedback mechanism. If the process of the effector is opposite to the change in the external environment, is known as the negative feedback. For example, consider the example of thermoregulation. In a hot season, when the temperature is exceeding, but our body will maintain the temperature, so message will send to a sweat gland where they release secretion, and with the passage of time the temperature will be dropped down. In this case, there is a negative feedback mechanism to maintain the homeostasis. In the case of positive feedback mechanism, in this process the effector's response is similar or toward the change in the external environment, is known as the positive feedback mechanism. For example, childbirth and the ripening of fruit are the examples which show that examples of the positive feedback mechanism. In this case, we can say that homeostasis will maintain by some control system or by means of components which maintain the homeostasis. Thank you, dear.